So I will introduce you. Many of you, I think, know Jade or know of Jade at least. So it's really nice to have you here this evening. She is local to Chelmsford, as I wrote on the blurb. Very, very talented. And I've been really, really interested in your journey and how motivated and determined and talented you are, and how you could have settled for like something quite like small, and because you were successful in like a little way, but you've chosen to keep pushing yourself and pushing your boundaries. And I think that's really inspiring. So it's very nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Over to you. Obviously, I've got your ring on. Over to you.
Hi, ladies. So what kind of thing did you want me to talk about? Did you want me to talk about the beginning, the journey, or?
It's really up to you. And sometimes these things evolve as we go, but I think it'll be really interesting to hear like where you came from, why you started, and I guess like your motivations, and maybe things that have helped you along the way. Any kind of top tips are always very like helpful, I think. But honestly, whatever kind of comes out is totally fine.
Of course. And does anyone in the group have like a product-based business?
Yeah, Lena does. Vicky, well, kind of services, quite a lot of them are. So Lena definitely is a product-based business. Everyone else tonight is a service, but other people in the group are products. Does that make sense? So not
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry about my voice. It's just, I think again, half term, I'm just shouting at my toddlers all week, and this morning I've woken up and it's gone. But so my sort of story, I started off, I used to be an intensive care nurse specialist at Great Ormond Street Hospital in London for children. And I used to sort of head up and manage lots of the heart and lung transplants. So it was quite obviously an intense job. And to sort of de-stress from those horrible shifts, I used to just do loads of fads. And so I've done photography courses, you know, bath bomb making. I've done a Victorian doll's house making course, like all of these random, really random courses. And then one morning I woke up and decided I was going to make jewellery. And I bought all the kit off Amazon and eBay, and just sort of self-taught for about a year, just watching YouTube videos and learning lots of the basics of jewellery making. And then it probably got to a couple of years in of self-teaching and doing sort of beginners evening classes that I realised I really, really loved it. And that's sort of where my passion lay, rather than the nursing side of it. So I then signed up and did some courses in London at the Goldsmith Centre, and almost did like basically like a foundation degree. So I haven't got a degree or anything in jewellery making. I did like an advanced jeweller's course, but I skipped the whole beginning period of it. So, you know, the beginners, intermediate, all of those stages, and jumped straight to sort of more advanced, just because I taught myself for 3 years at home. So I was pregnant with my first baby back in 2018, and about to go on maternity leave. And I just realised, like, I don't want to leave the baby. I don't want to go back to those 13-hour shifts. I don't want to have to commute into London. I just felt like I was done. I felt burnt out and just done with nursing. So it wasn't until our baby was about 6 months old or so, my husband was just like, why don't you just dip into the savings? You're getting loads of orders for jewellery anyway, so just dip in and just go for it and start it up as a business. So that's what we did. So I signed up, registered the business on Boxing Day 2018. And then in January 2019, so literally 3 weeks later, I had signed up to do Top Drawer, which I can't believe I did that. But Top Drawer basically is the national trade show for all buyers to come to London Olympia and look for stock for the new year. So I started a business up 2 weeks before, and just thought, I'm just going to go for it. I've got loads of stuff I've already made. I'm just going to make, get it all there at Top Drawer and see how it goes. And it was amazing. It was actually amazing. I had no idea what I was doing. My husband doesn't work in this industry either. He works in IT. So he had no idea either. I bought the smallest little stand I could afford, So it was literally like this box. And I just thought, I'm just going to go to town with it and decorate it. So I just had all these sort of Kentish hops, you know, like if you go into a pub and they've got all the hops and stuff. So I bought like boxes of those for about 30 quid each, and just literally covered this tiny little box stand, and just made it as appealing as possible. Anyway, while I was there, I was then, so that went down really well. And I got lots of orders in, and sort of that gave me a little bit of confidence in what I was making, and the fact that people that own shops are now wanting to buy my stuff wholesale and then stock it and sell it in their own stores. So that gave me like a bit of a boost. And also, like from a market research point of view, it gave me an idea of what I like and what I want to be making and what I want to be selling is a little bit different to what some of my customers want. So it just gave me a bit of an idea of what my hero products were and things like that. So anyway, while I was there, this lady came up to me and she said, "Oh, hi, I'm lining up London Fashion Week next month. Do you want to come and exhibit?" So I was like, "London Fashion Week?" She was like, "Yeah, yeah, I really do." At this point as well, I had just found out that I was pregnant with the second baby. So we had like a little Christmas accident 6 months after stop breastfeeding, and then boom, that happened. So I was pregnant with our second baby. So while I was at Top Drawer, I kept having to run off to the toilet feeling a bit uneasy. And so by the time I did London Fashion Week in the February, I was probably about 8 weeks or so. So I literally had to keep running off from the stages to vomit and go back. But so yeah, I ended up doing London Fashion Week. Again, that was amazing. That was, my jewellery was worn on like the catwalk, and then I had this like exhibition stand, everything. I met Idris Elba, so he came over to me and he was like, "Oh, I really like this stuff and my girlfriend would really like this. Can I buy the ring from her?" So obviously I was like just going to give it to him, but he was like, no, I'll buy it, I really like it. So he took it off and gave it to his fiance. And then about 2 weeks later after that, she tagged herself on Instagram wearing my ring. So I was like, oh my God. And then on top of that, while I was at London Fashion Week, this lady came up to me and she was like carrying a Stella McCartney dress over her shoulder. And she said, "Look, I can't tell you who, I'm flying out to LA tonight. I'm dressing a very big celebrity for the Oscars next week. I need to take that ring." Oh yeah, it's this one here behind me. This one behind me there. To the Oscars because this will go with her dress. So can I borrow the ring? So I was like, yeah. So she took it, and that celebrity ended up being Beyonce. So yeah, so literally like I'd started a business 8 weeks later, Beyonce's wearing it, but one of my rings. So it was an incredible journey to start with. And then it just kind of went from there. So over every single penny that I've made from the business, I started off with £5,000, and that brought my stock and just my boxes and things like that. And then every penny, even now, to be honest, that I make, I just put it back into my business to keep growing it. So for me, it's not necessarily a lifestyle business. For me, my end goal is that I want to grow my business to a point where my girls will take it over when they're older. They're 2 and 3 at the moment, so we've got a long way to go, but that's kind of my dream. I want to grow it up to be a proper brand that they finish school, finish uni, and they say, "I'm going to take over mum's business." So that's kind of my vision. So every single penny that I make goes back into it. So that will be outsourcing things like, to start off with, photography. If you have a product-based business and you're just online, my biggest thing to say is put money into your photography. That's your shop window. As soon as someone clicks onto your website, you're not going to go into a little shop in town that's got a horrendous display in the window. It looks all cluttered, looks messy. You know, the products aren't looking nice and clean and fresh. You're probably just going to walk past. So I feel like that's the same way with my website. So I have focused a lot on product photography. So some of you guys, with headshots and things as well, there might be photographers in the group, so this isn't too is there any photographers?
Hiral's in, she's not obviously here tonight, but she's the only photographer in the village. That sounds really funny, doesn't it? Like the only gay in the village. But yeah, she's obviously, I'm a massive fan of Hyrule.
So I get Hyrule to do. So the pictures behind me again that's a Hyrule piece of art behind me. So she does all my headshots. Basically all of our photography. I've only recently sort of outsourced a little bit more editorial, so I wanted to go a little bit more kind of contemporary Vogue style. So I work with Hyrule a lot, and then I also work with another photographer based in London, and we've done a few shots with them. But since sort of doing all of that, we've now been featured in like British Vogue, in Tatler, Closer magazine wrote like an article and sort of talked about the story and how quickly, like from setting up a business on Boxing Day to 8 weeks later, Beyonce wearing your piece of jewellery, like it's quite a very quick journey. So what else do you want me to say? So where are we? We're 2 or 3 years in. I've just employed 2 people. So I've got to that point now where I can't do everything on my own anymore. I'm still making all the jewellery. However, some of it I'm now outsourcing. So like this ring behind me here is the Giselle ring. That's the same one that Beyonce wore, but that's like my easily most popular selling ring. So I do outsource those now and get them made for me, all based in the UK, all still using sort of recycled silver and fair trade gold. I've just employed 2 people to come and help me. So I've got 2 lovely ladies who are kind of stay-at-home mums. They've just been focused on their children for the last few years. Their kids have just started school and they just want a little something extra to do in the day. So they're fully on board with the brand and sort of they've named themselves, they've given themselves roles. So I was like, assistant, but they put themselves as head as retail experience or head of customer experience or something like that on their email. So I was like, okay, that sounds really cool. So I've got ladies that come over and help me with the packing, and then somebody else just sort of do all the admin side and social media and things as well. And then the really fun bit is I've now got a publicist. So I've got a PR agent that I've had to send her so much stock, but she works with quite a lot of big celebrities and brands. So she's rang me the other day to say that one of the stylists that dresses quite a lot of the Made in Chelsea, I don't know if you'd call them celebrities, but Made in Chelsea stars, I guess. So she's loaned those a load of jewellery for some front page magazine work. So it's quite exciting to see when you see your stuff on screen in a magazine or anywhere like that. It gives you such a confidence boost. But yeah, I'm just going to keep plodding on, and just every penny I make, I'll just throw it back in and just try and keep growing it, and try and eventually, like, the idea will be to open a shop in Ingatestone, might be quite nice, I'm thinking, or Danbury, one of those affluent areas. Ideally in Angel in Islington, that's probably my most favourite place ever. But yeah, so for the time being, it's growing, and it's grown quite quickly, but it's just trying to keep up with the pace of it and just to ride the wave as well. Like, it's really hard balancing 2 toddlers and trying to run a business, and my husband running a business as well. We do often kind of come to loggerheads on who's able to work on certain days, especially in lockdown. Has anyone got any questions?
I'll unmute myself. Nicola's just come in, who's a product-based business, and obviously Lena, you're a product-based business. I just wondered, obviously anyone can ask a question, but do you have anything that's sparking off you? Because like Lena, you're quite early on in your journey, aren't you? But I don't know if you've got any. I'm putting you on the spot, but you might have more relevant questions, and I'll be quiet. Has anyone got any questions for Jade?
If you haven't already joined, if you are looking for more exposure for your self business or your product-based business, if you haven't already joined the group on Facebook, it's called the Lightbulb Group. If you haven't joined it, join it. It's worth it. It's about £5 a month. It's basically a private group that is just full of businesses, service-based businesses and product-based businesses, and then journalists. So they'll post into, so that's part of the reason I've had a lot of exposure, like the Telegraph, Metro, Closer magazine, British Vogue, Tatler, all of these, that's all through Lightbulb. So they'll post a story, or the journalists. Are you in it, Linda?
No, I remember, but now you've said it, I remembered you. I think it was when I turned up at like 7 a.m. on your doorstep back in the summer when I was out for a run, and you measured my finger. And again, that sounds really weird too, doesn't it? And you were like, oh, and obviously I just forgot, but now I've just written it down and put a circle around it, because when I put a circle around something, it reminds me to do it properly.
It's amazing. It's a really amazing group. So the journalists will post and say, I'm looking for stories today about ladies that have had dreams about dogs wearing high heels. And if that's you, it could be literally anything. And if you've had a dream about it, you could just say, yeah, that's me. And then they'll say, just send me an email, tell me your story, and then they'll give you a call. So it's literally as simple as that. So the Closer magazine was like a full page actual spread in Closer magazine. And that was just a story about working in intensive care during, like, it was in the middle of lockdown and stuff. And going from an ITU background to having a little dream about making jewellery and then turning that into a business. But that was like a full-blown spread. And my social media following and everything just went a bit crazy from that. So that's one definitely little golden nugget that you guys, if you're looking for more exposure, that's definitely something to look into.
Did you say that was Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Thank you.
The Lightbulb group. And there's another one called the Holly and Co.
I'm on that. I love that, because I'm
That's
obsessed,
a really nice group
with Holly. Anyway, I think she's like really inspirational. And actually, I was telling my son about her today, because I didn't know she's sick, and apparently it's National Dyslexia Month or something like that. And she did a whole post about why she's like thrilled that she's dyslexic. And I was reading it to my son earlier. I was like, oh, it sounds really, I'm really pleased I'm dyslexic now. So I like her even more now.
She I met her last month, and she follows me on Instagram. So sometimes she comments on some of my rings and posts, and she got a ring. I met her at Top Drawer, and she went, I know this brand. And she walked past, and I was like, oh my God. It was really embarrassing. I acted like such a fool, but in the end I got a picture with her and everything. And she came back behind the stand and she was like, come over everybody, look at this jewellery, it's all amazing. And I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. So yeah, I got some nice pictures with her.
Oh yeah,
and she's really humble. She's really, really humble. So
that's impressive, because she doesn't need to be, because she's amazing. I'm hoping she'll do her Congregation of Inspiration again next year, because that's not been running for 2 years now, and I really want. But sorry guys. But yeah, Holly and Co is an amazing group. I'd recommend that too.
And she's got like I don't know when the deadline is, so it might be the beginning of November, but there's her female founders sort of, it's not a competition, what would you call it, like an awards. So I haven't applied for it, but that might be something to think about as well, like just getting credibility behind you. So on my website, if you go down, you'll see like I've pinned all of the logos and then awards and things as well. It just gives you a little bit more credibility and emphasis behind your brand. But yeah, I mean, if you won the Holly Tucker Award, that would be pretty epic, wouldn't it? But that's like a set-based and product-based business. But I think she's got like it's all female-founded businesses. So that might be something quite nice to think about if you want to put yourself up for a bit of an award.
Has anyone thought of any questions for Jade? You're so quiet tonight. This is unnerving. Like, this is not normal. No? Crikey, Jade. Honestly, it's unheard of. You obviously just fed us all the information everyone needed. Let me think if I've got any questions. What do you do when you feel overwhelmed? There you go. That's a question.
If I feel a bit too overwhelmed, I take myself away from the situation, give myself like an hour out, and then I go back and I write a list So I prioritize in terms of work. If I'm a bit overwhelmed with work stuff, I'll prioritize, write down, and then just do like a 1 to 10 priority list. But I just think I have to keep sometimes just reminding myself the reason I have that business is because of my children, and I can't let the business then take over. I'm going to lose these precious years with the girls if I don't sort of manage my time a bit better. So that's why I've taken on other people to help and sort of source out different parts of the business now, because they grow up really quickly, don't they? So yeah, so I sometimes just have to remind myself the whole point of having this is so that I can be around for the girls if, you know, if one of them's at nursery or at school or whatever and they're unwell, at least I can just go and pick them up like that. I can drop everything in my business. It's not like I'm working away in the hospital, etc. So yeah.
No, it's good. It's hard, isn't it? Because sometimes we do get the balance wrong, don't we? And when you're getting lots of emails from customers, but you're trying to balance everything else. So no, I completely hear that. And it's definitely a struggle at times.
It is, yeah.
I just heard Lena say earlier, because Lena's she's got children similar age to mine who are on half term, and I heard you say like, I haven't really done anything this week, and I was thinking that's great, because as like you just said, Jade, we can put so much pressure on ourselves to keep achieving through the school holidays, but you can't, can you? Because you want to spend time with your kids. And actually I get more and more conscious of that the older they're becoming, because George is 10. So for example, this morning I meant to do emails for an hour and a half. I'd like blocked that time mentally. We ended up playing Cluedo, and I was really pleased I'd done that instead, because I can answer, I'll answer them after this tonight. It won't, you know, it's not the end of the world. But
yeah.
and I love Cluedo. I'm so sad. One of my favourite board games.
Oh, I also sometimes like tell myself as well, like the difference between what I'm doing now and what I was doing, you know, 5 years ago was if you don't answer that email, or if you don't send that order like immediately today, if it can, you know, do you have to send it at 10 o'clock? Can you send it at 4 o'clock? Like managing your time, I always think like no one's gonna die. That's what used to happen in my old job. Like if I didn't do something right now, right then, you know, bad things could happen. But this now I'm a bit like, well, no one's gonna get hurt. No one's, you know, if someone doesn't receive a ring at 10 o'clock in the morning and they receive it at 1 p.m, it's not the end of the world, is it? So I have to kind of remember that sort of thing as well, at times. What was the light bulb group on Facebook? Yeah, that's it. Literally the light bulb group.
Yeah.
And the Holly and Co group as well.
Okay. I had something else to ask you. It sparked off something in my head to ask you, but oh yeah, this is something that people, I made an order this morning on ASOS. Okay, this is linked to what I'm going to say. And when I went to order it, it gave you a priority of postage, and it was only a pair of jeans, and they're not urgent. I just need to replace a pair of black jeans, and for like, I think it was £2 rather than £5. So I was determined not to order anything else to get free delivery. I was not going to be like sucked in. You could like pick that, you know, it will come within the next 2 weeks. I'm in no rush, so I'll get it cheaper selection. And I thought that was really quite clever, because the way they wrote it made you sort of just think, is there actually any urgency? And there wasn't at all. And so and the way they wrote it almost sounded a bit, I don't know, I liked it. And so sometimes I think we're always so busy, like rushing, aren't we? And so I think we can even give your customers, you know, do I need this now, or is it for something in like 6 weeks, 8 weeks? And so you take the pressure off yourself a little bit, and you can reprioritize, because it's very hard to know, isn't it, sometimes who genuinely needs it really quickly, say for a birthday, or who doesn't need it and they're happy to wait. There's no massive point. It was just something that came to me.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I offer like free delivery on my website, just as a little incentive to buy. So the way I've calculated it is that the actual delivery the cost of delivery is already incorporated in the price of the jewellery. So yeah, so it just encourages people to spend.
Yeah, no.
But then I do have that error where you don't know if someone's buying a pair of earrings for a wedding tomorrow, or if, you know, if they don't need it till Christmas. So I just try and keep up with it and just send them out as soon as the order comes in. I just try and get them done and send them out.
Yeah, no, definitely. Anyone else thought of anything? I feel like I'm just like taking over, and I don't mean to at all. Has anyone thought of
Can I
Lena?
ask
Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering about Instagram. So how often do you post, and do you find that the more you post, the more followers you get? Because that's the thing, because I'm on my own making that, because so background, I've got a handmade clothing business, so I do make all of the things and I photograph them, put them on Instagram, and etc etc. So do you find the more you post, the more followers you get, or is it when that you're doing talking stories you get more followers?
I find I hate Instagram. So Instagram is just a really slow burner. For some people, they post a couple of times a week and boom, they've got 10,000 followers. It didn't work like that for me. And in all honesty, even with like these editorial high-end photos, just by posting and using my hashtags didn't grow my following. So my advice is, if you can work with influencers, I never pay an influencer. So I would never, you know how sometimes they're like, oh yeah, no, I'll take a piece of jewellery, but you also have to pay me £500. I would never ever do that. So anyone that charges, I don't work with them. But I work with influencers mostly that have sort of less than 50,000 following, because they're not at the point of charging at that point. And I do giveaways regularly. So my giveaways that I do to grow your following will be with other brands that have a similar following to you or a similar customer demographic. So I'm doing a giveaway again on Halloween, and that's with 2 other brands. One's called Sarah Harmon, which is like this really lovely designer handbag brand, and the other one's this Outdoor Living, so it's all really nice outdoor sort of burners, really nice sort of luxury furniture, but their customer demographic would be the same sort of people that would buy my jewellery, so their following is similar to mine. So it just means that we're just kind of blending each other's followers. So yeah, that's what I would kind of do to grow your following. I find posting, you know, it's just to stay current, and it's just to stay within the algorithm, to be honest. It's not really to grow your following. Stories, I think, are really important as well. If you did want a photographer, someone that is sort of within a good budget, like a start-off photographer, then there's a lady called Jasmine Photography. She's based just out near Colchester, but she's like a headshot and she does product based. But if you just wanted something for about £250 just to get you started, for just some pieces that you can use on your grid and on your website and things like that, then she's a really good place to start. And then obviously I recommend Hero. You get this sort of thing with Hero. Any other questions?
Is that okay, Lena?
Yeah, that's really helpful. So with the influencers, how do you find people that you want to work with?
You just have to go through. So basically, when you go into your Instagram grid, say you found an influencer that was, what sort of clothing do you make? Do you make like mummy stuff?
Children, it's mainly dungarees that I make.
Okay.
Well, that's one of the main things that I promote. But yeah, everything's it's bright rainbow colours. It's
nice.
It's not. Yeah.
So so a good place to start for an influencer, find Dress Like a Mum.
Yeah.
So just the reason she comes to mind. So I worked with her a little while back, and again, I didn't pay. She's over 100,000 now. But at the time that I worked with her, I think she was about 75,000, something like that. And I just sent her a few jewellery pieces, but she's grown massive. But the only reason I mention her is because she's quite bright in colours. She's got 3 kids. She's so you could start with her, and then when it comes down with suggestions underneath. So say you started following her, it will give you some suggestions, and just scroll through those suggestions and you'll start finding other influencers that have less following as you go through. And then find someone, between like 30 and 50 or something like that, someone that you think fits your customer demographic. And then literally just send them a little direct message or an email and ask them to be happy to gift a piece of jewellery or, your product.
Yeah, great, thank you.
But yeah,
Marie, I think so it was Beth. I knew someone's tried to talk and then I'd cut them off before. Beth.
Oh no, I think that was somebody else as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Mine was sort of a slightly more specific question, but how did you find going from like such a structured day working with the intensive care side of things down to being completely like self-managed? Because so I work for the ambulance service, so I can really feel you on the long days and sort of children and not really feeling like the lifestyle, I guess, of that sort of thing. But I think a little bit of me is still a bit like, oh God, but how will I cope? So I'm just kind of curious about how you found it.
You, like I was saying earlier, write notes and just give yourself a bit more of a structured day. I think because probably similar to me, you're used to working in a quite high pressured environment. You're able to kind of manage your stress a bit better, she says. But so I kind of, you have to be quite have good time management when you work in sort of healthcare, don't you? So you're able to kind of delegate tasks to yourself that in order of priority. So I didn't find it that difficult. What I found difficult was, the children, having two small children around when you're also trying to work. So it's just trying to balance that, I find. But you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. You just write notes to yourself and just give yourself a couple of Q hours in a day. So for an example, now I know, like, it's half term this week, I've had loads of orders placed yesterday for bracelets, and I can now know, just my husband gave me 2 hours earlier, so I just went to my workshop. I managed to make 5 bracelets within that 2 hours. So I've come back, polished them all off, and they're all ready to go today. So you just adapt and you get quicker in what you're doing and you get more confident as you go along.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Marie, you keep
Yes.
trying talking. I was just curious about how you worked on your pricing model, because so how you initially worked out your pricing, and did you change it after Beyonce wore the ring?
I did. I actually brought the price down.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so originally when I made this ring, so this is Giselle ring, when I first made it, I put it on the website for £330. And you just need to play around with it. You need to figure out who your customer demographic is, like what's their spending, that kind of thing. And I did have it on a lot higher. And then I did a couple of smaller little pop-ups and realised that I put the ring on for, I think, about 270. And they were selling like crazy. So I brought the price down sort of as inflation goes on. And now, like, I'm VAT registered and stuff, I've managed to creep the price back up a little bit, but not to that extent. I did find a really good book. I can go and grab it for you guys in a minute, but I've got some really good sort of business books that I read. One of them is like setting up, it's a jewellery business, but it's relevant to everybody. It's a product-based business book, and that sort of helped me with my pricing structure, especially because obviously I set up a business and then did top drawer 2 weeks later, so I really needed to sort of nail it quickly. But yeah, your prices will just change and adapt as you go along. What's your sort of business?
Oh, I mean, mine's service. It's completely different. It's just I'm in health coach and nutrition. But I'm just, at the moment I'm just revising all my prices and that, and I know I can't, it's not relevant to jewelry, but it's just trying to have the confidence to value your service where it should be. And I keep listening to everyone who's in the industry, and I've got a business coach who's telling me to put it at certain prices. I just find it really hard, especially because it isn't a product and you have time with someone, but you have to account for all the hours that you put in behind the scenes.
Of course.
And obviously yours is
loads of time you put into making it, and no one knows how long you'll put the hours you were putting in. So I didn't know whether you based it on how many hours. I guess it's materials and hours with you, what you would put into it. I don't even know, really, to be honest.
I don't charge for my time. So
Right.
my charging with product stuff is probably a bit different, but it's your cost price. You double that, that's your wholesale price, and then you double that as your retail price.
All right. Okay.
So that's kind of how that works. But in terms, why don't you do some market research, like find who your clientele are or who you want them to be, and then do like a small survey or something, and sort of get maybe your social media, get people engaged into your service, like ask them what would you pay for this sort of service under 50, 100, 50 to 100, blah blah blah, and just get a feel for what people would pay for and what sort of
I just think it's hard if you go in at the beginning and undersell it and then undercut it too much and then have to build it up. I think it's just about having the balls to put the price out there, to be honest.
Yeah. The one thing I did read, I listened to a podcast a while back, and I think it was Holly Tucker, and she said you should never go high and then drop your prices down. Your prices should always stay low and then go up as your business grows. So I thought that was quite key. But cool. It's a really difficult one, but you'll get it in the end, and you're paying for your time, so that's what you charge for your time.
Cool, thanks.
I'm just got just a little consult. I was talking to Jenny last week, who's a business coach who's in this group, but she's not here tonight, and she was talking about Black Friday and how it might be useful to kind of start considering that, because I'd never even thought about using Black Friday as like a service-based business. I just see it as products. And she's like, no, it absolutely could be service. And I don't quite know what I'm saying to you at this point, Marie, but I wonder if you could float some deals out there. So normally I'm launching now, my full price will be blah 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 from January, but a Black Friday deal will be this for new clients or whatever, or existing, or whatever you want. I don't know. So it might be something to consider, because it gives you something to bounce from, if that makes sense. So I'm about to launch a new line, which is working with people who've got birth trauma and doing a rewind thing with them. And I haven't launched it yet, and I'm trying to work on pricing. And I thought I might do like a limited thing with Black Friday where I take on 5 clients at a much lower price, and that's indicative of where I am in my journey with it too, if that makes sense. And a bit like Jade said, you can start low, and then like you've openly said the price is going up, but because of Black Friday it's here. That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. That is a good idea. Thank you.
And you've got Cyber Monday, so you've got Black Friday and the Monday as well. So you could do it over a 4-day weekend or something.
True.
Apparently you're supposed to start it, is it the Monday, is Cyber Monday the Monday before Black Friday, or is it the Monday after?
The Monday after.
I don't know. I have to get my head around it too. It's been half term. I've eaten too much chocolate today and I feel a bit like, woo!
And the other, for anyone that is a product-based business, have a look at the Great British Exchange. So if you fancy doing a pop-up in John Lewis, then have a little look at them, because you can potentially just have a week-long pop-up in the store, and it'll just give you, again, a bit of market research. You can sell your products directly to John Lewis type customers. That's my type of customer. And you can get a feel for it there as well. But they do other stores. They do Phoenix, and they do Boots, and do other sort of, you have product-based businesses along that end. And someone mentioned to me as well, in terms of like, if you are a service-based business, if you connect with somebody else on Instagram, you could create like a group of you, and then in the lead up to Black Friday or Christmases, you do your own kind of Christmas gift guides. So I'm teaming up with some other product-based businesses that are handbags, candles, that kind of thing. And then in the lead up to Black Friday, and especially Christmas, I'll do my own gift guide. So it'll be like, anyone looking for amazing candles, click here. And you're almost advertising each other's business. And say everybody had 5,000 to 10,000 followers, you're putting your business then going out to an audience of maybe 30,000 by having that many people involved. That might be something as well, like especially for service-based businesses.
Are you still stocking in the pop-up shop in town, Jade?
No, because it's a bit awkward, but there's another jeweler in there that started copying all my work and then undercutting me. So I went to intellectual property and I've registered all of my designs. So if anyone copies anything, I just send them a letter and be like, by the way, this is legally, yeah. You only have to change something by 25% or 20% to make it different. But it was just blatant, like it was just so obvious. And then she was charging about £15 less on everything. So I was like, oh, this is pointless.
So rubbish, isn't it? Is she local as well? Like, do you actually know her?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, harsh.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward.
That's really
It
bad.
happens, it's fine. Like there's other people as well, like all of this sort of granule stuff that I do, there's another jeweler I know that started doing it as well. But like, really, like we had coffee recently, like, okay, but it's fine, it's a compliment, isn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say, take it as a compliment.
that way.
When people copy you, you're obviously doing something right, aren't you? But
yeah, it's fine, it does happen, you just have to shrug it off, I guess. But
yeah, it takes such, I don't understand how, it takes such balls, doesn't it, to do that, to have coffee with you, then blatantly copy your work. Like, I could never be that person, because I'd be mortified.
I know. They were like commenting on a bangle that I was wearing. I was like, yeah, it's one of my new ones, blah, blah, blah. And like 6 weeks later, they've made this like little mini collection with a very similar bangle. I'm like, okay, all right.
I have a question for you, actually. We said mini. Are you ever going to launch a product based at a younger audience, say a child? Because my daughter loves your jewellery. There you go, Poppy. And because one of the bracelets that I got for my both bracelets, because they're the same but different colours, I know that it had, like, I told her that it had grains in it, and I think I mentioned the word poppy seed. Just like, oh, mummy, I'd love a poppy seed bracelet. And I was like, oh, I don't think that she'd make them small enough. But and I just, because obviously, like, she's not got any real jewellery, she just wears like tats still because she's that age. But you know, as they start to get a bit older and you get to like towards special birthdays, and I think the problem with today's world is that you give children such a lot of throwaway stuff that breaks. They don't value anything very much, and it drives me nuts. Like, there's something they value at 10 a.m. by 2 p.m. can be put in the bin because it's broken already, and so they don't care about it anymore. It's really sad. And I'm consciously trying this Christmas to buy them things that aren't like that, like quality gifts which they can treasure. And I just there you go, that's a very long-winded question.
Yes, I've had that question a lot, actually. So I wanted to trial something in the new year where when we do the jewellery making workshops, it will probably be local. And this is the other thing as well, like I've just taken on this lady, and that in the new year we're going to continue doing jewellery making workshops, and then we're going to franchise them, and she's going to take over that part of the business. So again, it's another part of the business I don't want to let go of, but it turns over a nice bit of money, so it's worth keeping it within the business. So we're going to franchise it. She'll take a cut of that and she'll work with that. But in terms of the mummy children's pieces, I was going to do like a mummy and me collection. So it'll be like a mum's fingerprint and the child's fingerprint and little love heart lockets, and then they'll wear one of each. So I was thinking of going along something along that line, but I have to do my research around it to make sure there's no one else doing something similar.
That's a good idea. I was also thinking about like children's rings, because again, I don't know, I just was a thought, really. I know they grow up their fingers grey, so you wouldn't want to spend a fortune on a ring, but I think anyway, that's my questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, children's rings would have to be open at the back though. I would never make them as like a solid, just because children are obviously a lot more active. You don't want them catching it on a gate or anything like that to pull on their finger. So I would always make them open. Also, they grow like the speed of light, don't they? So at least then if they're open, they can grow with the child.
Yeah.
That might be something. Yeah.
If
anyone does have any questions, like feel free to message me on Instagram.
But does anyone have anything else they want to ask Jade? No. As I said, unnervingly quiet. That's the thing about Zoom. If you were in a room, like there'd be a little buzz, wouldn't there? But everyone's on mute. You're just a bit like. That's fine. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Jade. That I've written a whole A4 side of notes, which yeah. So I've been listening. Thank you so much, because as I know, time is precious, and an hour is, you know, is a lot when you've got other stuff to be cracking on with and children, etc. So I really appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much.
No problem. Nice to meet you all. Take care.